Good morning. This is our proposal for improving applicant feedback. Hi, I'm Drake Doumit, and I am a co-founder of Drake & Drake Consulting.
And I'm Hudson Taylor, the other co-founder of Drake & Drake Consulting. Here at Drake & Drake Consulting, we've been working with organizations, both big and small, for over 10 years now. Some projects that we've worked on range from selection procedure generation to overall organizational development. Here, we presented you with this idea of an iceberg, which is how we view the current selection problems and interpretations of the selection procedure by your applicants. We see problems happening at the surface level. However, there's also things happening underneath this iceberg, the underbelly of the iceberg, if you will, that are affecting things that are happening at the surface level. In order to change the kind of perceptions of what's going on, we need to go under the iceberg and figure out what's happening there so that we can develop solutions to the problems going on there and see some effects at the surface level. Drake's going to give you the present concerns.
So as Hudson mentioned, some of these present concerns that we're seeing are discontent with the current selection system, and this discontent is further resulting in some retention issues, both with potential applicants as well as current job incumbents. And overall, we're seeing negative feedback with the company's reputation in the community.
So I'm going to walk you through our discovery process. Given the current problems that we have here, there are certain things that we need to figure out what's going on in this under part of the iceberg. The first step is looking at the selection procedures as a whole, seeing if any problems are coming from the actual procedures of selection. Then we're going to look at applicant feedback, seeing what the applicants actually are thinking about the different selection procedures.
We're also going to survey the employees with regard to their perceptions and see how they perceive the selection system after already having been employed with the organization. And we're also going to take the opportunity to ask these employees their interpretation of selection systems from organizations that they've previously worked. And next, we're also going to evaluate the public relations processes and information available on the company regarding their company image.
Basically, we're wanting to look at what applicants have available to them in terms of what working for the company looks like. If their values align with the company's values, we think that it's going to be more likely that you get applicants that are going to be accepting of the company, and you're going to find less applicants that are just applying to apply for a job without actually caring about the company. If those applicants would end up being rejected, we think that they are the people who are giving potentially worse feedback. So it's important that you find applicants via recruitment that are actually care about the ideals of the company, and you do that by showing what the company's about to the applicants.
Okay, so what are some of these potential causes that are resulting in this negative feedback and this discontent that the organization is experiencing? This could be occurring in the form of perceptions that employees have with regard to the test content and whether or not they perceive the test content as being fair, or that they perceive the tests themselves as maybe less job relevant or job related. This could also relate to the quality of test administration in the sense that the applicants may perceive that the environment is not standardized across applicants and across time for each applicant. With regard to the retention issues that we're experiencing, this lack of involvement or engagement in terms of values that Hudson mentioned in the previous slide could also be resulting in an overall lack of commitment to the organization as applicants progress from being applicants to employees in the long term.
It's important to mention what Drake said about perceptions, that it's not necessarily about the validity of the test and whether the tests are actually apt at showing job relevance or actually are fair. It's about the perceptions of the applicants and whether or not they know that the procedures are fair or job relevant. As you can see, this is a common issue. We've listed a bunch of resources that we pulled from to come up with these potential causes. Lots of companies see these problems, and it's not necessarily because their selection systems are inadequate. It's just that it's about framing how the applicants can see the selection system so that they know that it's a proper selection system. Here's our taking action slide. So this is, now that we know kind of what's going on underneath the iceberg, what can we do to try to change what's going on? First of all, feedback. We recommend a more proactive approach. So we know that you guys are taking information regarding feedback from the internet and from the community as a whole, and those are good resources that we definitely want to take into consideration. But we also want to get feedback from the applicants internally as they are applying so that we know exactly what's going on and what they are upset about in the application process. By getting that information, we're going to be able to address those things more directly. And that could show itself in the form of job relevance or fairness, as we see here with applicant perceptions. If their problems are with more job relevant things, then we can address that. If they're with more fairness, we can address that and make sure that we're not overdoing what more than we need to actually be addressing. And then finally, it's the public presence, public presence, like Drake was talking about earlier, giving that information to the applicants so that they can see, hey, this company sounds like one that I want to work for, so I'm going to apply. It's kind of a recruitment of people who are going to be happy in your organization so that you might actually keep them. And also, if they were to be rejected because their applications don't meet the guidelines, they may understand better why that is.
Okay, so taking these action steps with regard to this proactive approach, this could be in the form of rejection letters in which the applicant is informed about why they might not necessarily have performed well in the application process. This could be the opportunity for the organization to explain the selection decisions that were made by the organization. You know, a lot of times applicants will apply for a job and then not hear back from the company, and then several, weeks to months later realize they've been rejected. This can result in this perceived unfairness that we've been talking about. One way to address that issue is to send these letters and explain to the applicants why some of these decisions were made, such as selection system, cutoff scores, and things of that nature. Another example of this would be, another recommendation rather, would be taking the feedback that we obtain from the employees, the current job incumbents, and improving our overall relevance, job relevance perceptions of the test themselves. So that might be updating our work sample tests or establishing a realistic job preview, for example. And again, as Hudson mentioned, with regard to public presence, this could be in the form of an informative or engaging company website that applicants can access, where they see where the selection system process is outlined on the website. And this could also be where the applicants can access, or the community in general can access, information with the organization, like the company's vision, mission, and the things that they value. And they can self-select with regard to whether or not they want to work for the organization. Overall, this will result in a more well-defined presence, well-understood presence of the organization within the community.
And as we're wrapping up here, we've got our outline for our timeline and budget. I'll just walk through these things briefly. got our selection procedure evaluation, like we talked about earlier, the evaluation of public relations materials to see what the company is actually putting out there in terms of for their applicants to see the company. Data compilation, just figuring out those surveys for the applicants and for the employees. Public image recruitment strategy implementation, coming up with something that we can put out there, like the webpage, to help recruit individuals and make sure that they have a better expectation of what's going to be asked of them in the application process. The survey development, the survey administration that we talked about before, implementation of our findings from the survey into the selection procedure, and then a follow-up survey for new applicants. And I want to talk a little bit about this one because this would be the new survey that we are giving in order to get feedback from our applicants. We'd want to leave that with you guys for 6 months, enough time to get the data to see if any of the implementations that we're putting forth are affecting perceptions and making those perceptions better about the application process at the company. And then finally, we would do analysis and follow-up results to see what's working and how we can continue, how you guys can go moving forward. And that's pretty much it. And you can see our iceberg model, how we had the selection procedures all the way at the top, and how there's a lot more going on at the bottom. And yeah, Drake, did you have anything else for them?
No, I think it's really important to understand, as Hudson was saying, that there's more going on under the surface, in that we don't react or overemphasize certain surface level causes before really understanding the underlying process.
Exactly. It's all about getting that fairness perception and that aptness perception from the applicants. And here's just quickly a list of our references that we used and you saw cited throughout the presentation, just for your use. And yeah, thank you for this opportunity, and
thank you for your time.
we're looking forward to working with you in the future.